Hello and welcome to our multi-part podcast series on enterprise security. And welcome back if you've joined us before. Now, our journey so far in the series has seen us dive into the importance of casting a comprehensive security net, the criticality of considering supply chains in the security perimeter. And today, we're talking about newer thinking in the security space that is helping enterprises breathe easier. And that is the continuous reinforcement strategy. To talk to us about this and help us craft our approaches as well, we have Adesh Manjrekar, Head of Pre-Sales for India for Data Protection Solutions at Dell Technologies in India. Thanks for joining us, Adesh.
Thanks, Ashwin. It's a pleasure to meet you here.
Good to have you with us. Now, Adesh, one of the more worrying transformation in the digital era is how security has now become like a business issue and seen as an intrinsic element of the overall structure. And earlier, it used to be just that one more thing that the IT team had to take care of. With this as the backdrop, how are you advising enterprises to think about security when you collaborate with your enterprise clients?
Of course, organizations today are investing in a lot of new technologies, new and emerging technologies. They're looking at cloud native applications, containers, AI, and machine learning, which is producing large amount of data. In addition to these, what we've also seen a lot of new data sets are being transformed. So traditional enterprise workloads are either being retired, replaced with these modern age data sets. From our engagements with a lot of organizations, what we've seen is a lot of organizations rely on the NIST cybersecurity framework to be a starting point and assess their posture. The 5 cybersecurity framework functions used to organize these categories are, identify, deploy, which basically means you deploy an organizational understanding to manage cybersecurity risks to systems, people, data, assets, and all the other surrounding equipment. The second of it is protect, which is to develop and implement appropriate safeguards to ensure delivery of critical services for any organization. The protect function supports the ability to limit and contain the impact of a potential cybersecurity event. The third one being detect, which means that organizations need to develop and implement appropriate activities that help them identify any breach or any security event. Now, this is very important if the discovery doesn't happen in a timely fashion. The other two are respond, where organizations need to have a posture on how they react and take the necessary actions in case they detect a cyber incident. The recover, which is the last but the more critical one, is where organizations have a plan which help them meet their resilience and help them restore all their business critical applications and services that are impaired due to a cybersecurity event.
Adesh, every business is going to hope that they never have to come to a recover situation and everything is just taken care of. And to really do this, right, there was a point when you trust and you forgot about it. And now you've reached this space where it's trust, check, check again, check again, check again. You keep checking it. And this has given rise to what we've been hearing for the last few years, like zero trust security, right? In such a time, what does a comprehensive security approach look like when you have continuously checking and rechecking your security posture?
The concept of zero trust has been for a while, and it's not as something which is very new. I think it's an extension to the least privileged access mechanism. Think of zero trust as never trust, always verify. And for any organization, zero trust is more like an architecture or a strategy. It's not something that with which you can eliminate a ransomware threat in entirety. To be honest, there is no single technological solution that can help achieve it. So if you're thinking the zero trust architecture is a silver bullet that can go a long way in reducing your surface attack area, organizations need to be mindful that while identifying gaps and planning to remediate them is one part of this whole architecture or cyber resiliency framework, the response and recovery are still going to be very, very critical. You cannot look at any environment on in piecemeal or in parts. So organizations often miss out on this critical element of response and recover, where they think that traditional backups are good enough to meet their recovery requirements. So, in short, all organizations have to remember that zero trust is a guidance, is an architecture that you build across all your components, whether it is workloads, whether it is networks, whether it's your um, storage, whether it is your people, processes, and basis which you build a comprehensive framework. And obviously, you need specialized skills to keep this movement continuous by having external and internal people running these for ensuring you have maximum security.
And Adesh, maximum security seems to have taken a newer meaning entirely when, for the past 2 years, when you have work from home, which has become the near norm. And now, of course, you have the hybrid paradigm that has set in. How do you think this is increasing the complexity? And what are the kind of innovations that you are bringing forth from the Dell perspective to be able to help manage security in this space and accommodate the different ways that people are now working?
That's a great question. In fact, if you see today, organizations have already evolved into a working models that offer employees the flexibility to work from any place of their choice. And this does take the whole environment, whole architecture discussion beyond the realms of the traditional work environment. And when, if there is a breach on an endpoint, uh, this breach could actually be the first starting point, which could lead the entire environment of the enterprise exposed. What we have realized is that there needs to be a secure lifecycle and architecture and approach. And keeping those in mind, Dell has designed solutions that offer coverage for edge to core to cloud. Dell Technologies introduced the managed data detection and response service, which is a fully managed end-to-end 24 by 7 service that helps organizations monitor, detect, investigate, and respond to the threats across the entire IT environment. So this helps organizations to improve their security posture while reducing the burden on IT and be more proactive rather than reactive. In addition, when users work remotely, they're not necessarily protected by enterprise guide and enterprise level of data protection. So when users lose a single file or could lose their laptop data, they need to have the ability to restore this securely and safely. One of the other innovations that we have done is through our Apex backup service, where we allow users to protect any kind of data or any kind of remote offices or even your SaaS applications onto the cloud, where you consume it only for the services that you use.
Adesh, just help me clarify one thing here, Adesh. Now, enterprises, or rather, there's some enterprises who believe that moving everything to the cloud automatically means that your security is managed by the cloud provider. Um, so, how does the issue of constantly reinforced trust play out in a cloud-based environment? Isn't your problems taken care of?
Not really, actually. If you look, all the organizations that have adopted cloud in some form, whether it's through means of running their workloads in a PaaS or a SaaS or an infrastructure as a service, the protection of these workloads and their data is the end organization's responsibility, which means you need to have the same cyber resilience framework applied to the workloads on the cloud, just as they were on for an on-premise environment. This is the only way you can ensure you have a layered defense mechanism for any kind of breaches or cyber incidents. And to meet these requirements, Dell Technologies has also evolved. with their cyber recovery solution that's available in the public cloud. This helps the organizations to have a consistent and trusted recovery for their workloads in the cloud. Think of it as an additional layer of security to help you isolate, make your data immutable, and also provide the intelligence to see if there is any kind of compromise or malicious activity that is taking place. Now, this helps you to recover a clean copy of your data in an event of an incident. Now, the key differentiators for such an option, especially for customers, organizations moving to the cloud, is one, you adopt this solution, you adopt this framework to drive down the costs of maintaining and protecting such a large environment. And the second is you also ensure that you have no lock-ins with any cloud vendor, which means it's easier for you to repatriate and come back on-prem. So while cloud has been the key in helping organizations transform, the whole security and the protection of the workloads and the data relies with the enterprises.
Thank you for that, Adesh, for helping us understand what does the security landscape look like and how zero trust thinking is really helping enterprises really beef up their security, and how it is not something that you should really look at as a silver bullet to solve all your problems, and helping us understand better as to how the cloud is playing in this time of reinforced security. Adesh, it's been a delight to have you join us here on our podcast series, and I'll look forward to having you back with helping us understand about more nuances and facets in this space. Thanks again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.